Okay, so the poster you're looking at informs you about das Präsens, the present tense in German. It's quite simple. There's not a lot of explaining needed, even though I probably will talk a lot. So you understand that German verbs all end in en. In grammar, these are called infinitives. So what you need to do is that you always remove the en from the verb, like I've done by placing the red X over machen, to do or to make. Then you're left with the first part of the verb, which is mach. That in grammar is called a stem. So again, these are terms that you may hear an instructor or teacher say, so just to be familiar and not be scared when you hear these words. So you take off the en off the infinitive, you're left with mach, the stem. Okay, so that forms the basis of our conjugation pattern. Now, what is conjugation? Conjugation means simply to make a list out of the verb based on each of the type of persons who can do the verb. So, like in English, you have I do, you do, he, he, does, or he, she does, sorry. We do, you do, so on and so forth. So, again, in German, it's just using the pronouns ich for I, du for you, informal, and I'll explain what informal means in a moment. Sie, for a boy, sie for a girl, wir is we, ihr is you plural, or in Hiberno English or English from Ireland, that would be ye, and sie, which is you, formal. Now, what's the difference between you, informal and formal? So, for example, if you're chatting amongst your friends or people who you are really close to or familiar, you would use the do form because you're very close, you're very familiar, and there is no need to be formal. You would use the sie, however, if you're speaking to an adult, or if you're speaking to a person you do not know, or somebody whom upon you bestow respect. Just to note that in Germany, when referring to anybody outside your social circle, or in a company or in a school or university, you always use the Sie form. It's very impolite to use the do form unless the other person asks you, können wir du sein zu benutzen? Or can we use the do form to show familiarity and a relaxed attitude towards each other. So if you're in doubt, always use the Sie form when referring to anybody. So here we go. So for machen is the verb, we've taken off the en, we're left with the stem mach. Okay, so for I make or I do is ich mache. So again, as I said, the pronoun is written in black and the ending, the little snippet of the letter that goes on the end, is in red. So ich mache, du machst, sie macht, wir machen, ihr macht, sie machen. So again, you can simply see there, as I say, with the green arrow in the inside, is the pattern that the infinitive minus the en, the stem, takes, and then the brown arrow on the outside is just the conjugation cycle. So again, there's just terms that, in case you're presented with, don't be too scared when you hear them. As in English, there's exceptions to rules in German, so I've listed common vowel or spelling changes that you would just have to learn off by heart or know when you come across them. So sometimes E changes to IE, so you would have sie liest. Ich lese, sie liest. You'd have sie sieht, so ich sehe, sie sieht. Then you've sie hilft, to help. Ich helfe, sie hilft. Then you have verbs that change from E to I. Again, you just need to learn these as you come across them. Ich gebe, ich gibt. Okay, to give. Ich spreche, to speak. Sie spricht. Ich esse, I eat. Sie isst. Ich nehme, I take. Sie nimmt. And then finally, there's certain verbs that take a going to an a umlaut. Okay, to an a to an e. So ich fahre, I travel, sie fährt. Ich laufe, I run to sie läuft. Ich empfange, I receive to sie empfangt. Ich trage is I carry or I wear or sie trägt. Okay, so that is as much knowledge that I'm going to provide to you at the moment to form the conjugation patterns of any verb in the present tense, and pay attention to the slight spelling changes that predominantly would happen only in the and sie form, so in the girl form and the boy form, depending on the age of listener to this video. With the conjugation pattern, there can be slight differences depending on certain vowel combinations. For example, ich antworten, because when you take off the en, it ends in t. If you have the sie form, you can't say ich sie antwortete. You have two t's together, so sometimes you'd slip in an e to make on the boy and girl form or the sie form to make it easier to pronounce. But you'll come across these as you do exercises with your instructor or your teacher, or when you come across them. But this is the basic pattern anyway for you to know. So just know the conjugation is the general list going down through all the persons. The infinitive is the verb with the en. The stem is with the en taken off, and then it's just simply going through a few exercises.